the buy or sell thing, I'm selling the Giants this year and probably selling the Warriors and their chances of, and again, it's just 2024, but I don't know if they can really do enough between now and then, but I'm buying the Niners. I do think the Niners are, for the rest of this year, by the time we get to New Year's Eve, I think they're going to be in a spot where they're again one of the preeminent teams in the NFC.
Should be.
Yeah.
Should be, absolutely. We're just in a spot. We're just in a spot. That's all I'm saying. Like, I look at the whole landscape right now, and I go, okay, the Giants have been totally disappointing, and we're having a conversation at the deadline, which is not the conversation we were hoping to have. Klay Thompson left town. Brandon Ayuk is upset. The biggest story of the offseason for the 49ers has not been, wow, they've got the best team. It's everybody wanting money. And I get that. Like, it's very, very difficult to avoid when you're this high profile and you're this good and you have this many good players. And then you have really good years. They're all going to want to get paid, and that's totally fair in the NFL. So I would buy because, A, that's how my brain works, and B, there is a lot of should in the favor of all three teams. I already laid out the Giants thing. They should be good. The 49ers, of course, should be good. And I would still bet my chip on the Brandon Ayuk thing getting figured out in some form. Even if it's just, dude, play on your fifth-year option. Just show up and play. Even if it's that. I do think that gets figured out. As far as the Warriors are concerned, I don't know if there's a big move or not, but I do think just from the standpoint of vibe and availability, you know, like if Draymond Green plays the season and if they are a healthy group and they're a group that wants to be here and they're definitely a deeper group, all of those things mean that the Warriors should be viable. The West is hard, I get that, but I find it to be a viable group. That's kind of, in this moment, that's the view that I'm going to take, but I can see someone poking holes in all three of those.
Yeah, I think the Warriors are viable. What does that mean? Does that mean that they're a 6th seed and that they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs? Is that viable? Okay, then fine. They're viable. Are they a Western Conference Finals team as they are composed right now? I don't think so. If that's what you consider viable, depends on what you look at. Like for the Giants, for me, viable means they're going to be a wild card team. They're going to actually play playoff games. Are the Giants viable? Well, they're closer to it right now than a lot of other teams, and they should be viable. And I'll go with you on that with Robbie Ray and Blake Snell and Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison, and if it's Hicks or if it's Birdsong, whoever it is,
or Cobb
eventually, whatever.
Yep.
They should be. Easiest schedule in baseball. The rotation is coming back, and it's going to be nasty. And you've got some young players coming up and contributing, and your team is more healthy now than it's been for the majority of May and June. So, yeah, you'd better be viable.
By the way, also, I think you're getting ahead of yourself a little bit on the Warrior thing. When I say viable, I don't mean – I'm not even thinking about playoffs. That's 2025.
Right.
Because you could make a deal at the deadline and become a completely different team if you don't get Larry Markkinen now. Who knows? Maybe you get Larry Markkinen on February 6th. I don't know. I just mean that I think that the Warriors – can be in a spot where when we get to the holidays, they're playing pretty good basketball. They got significantly more wins than losses, and therefore you're viable. And then you start to look at the landscape and see where you want to go. There's all kinds of stuff that needs to unfold. Who's playing well that we didn't think was going to play well? Who's not playing well that we thought would play well? Or do the Timberwolves turn around and go the other direction? Do the Thunder? I don't know. But I think the Warriors can have a solid start to the season based on what they have. I do like their negotiating position right now. It does feel like they're gassing up Pods. Does that mean they're getting him ready for a trade? Or does that mean they genuinely totally want to keep him and think he's going to be a large contributor to a good team this year? I don't know. I'm not sure which. You could sell me on both, but I like their negotiating position because I do feel like they've legitimately arrived at a spot where they're like, we don't have to make a deal.
They don't, but it'd be cool if they did, but they don't have to make a deal. Right, and it depends on who's involved and what you're going to do with the rest of the players. And, Pods, it feels like they're gassing him up, but they're gassing him up knowing that they want to keep him. They got 3 more years of great bargain control if he continues to get better. And as Joe Lacob said on that podcast that we've been playing throughout the week, young players tend to get better. So if he gets better from where he is and you're paying him $3 and $4 and $5 million over the length of his contract, then that is an absolute deal. Not quite Brock Purdy, but almost the NBA equivalent of a Brock Purdy deal. And the other piece is the Kuminga, where he either gets extended in October or he plays out his final year, and then he gets out there and gets a free agent offer, a qualifying offer, and you make a decision from there. But between now and December, if you have Kuminga and Pods and the rest of these guys, are you viable by the time you get to New Year's? You should be.
Yeah, I mean, money, you're bringing up the money part. Money is always so much more of this than we, I think, as fans want it to be. I mean, if you really do look at why Klay Thompson is not a Warrior anymore, I honestly think money is a big part of it, and I don't mean that just by Klay wanted this and the Warriors wanted to offer that. I think it's more about the fact that Joe Lacob paid more than any other team in the NBA for his team this last year, and didn't make the playoffs. And that makes him very angry. He's angry, Jeff, and it's not awesome. And so the Lacob view of the team, the perspective totally changed. Klay will offer you 2 and 48. We think we're a good team. Turns out we're not that good of a team, and you were a malcontent all year. Now I'm thinking maybe we offer you nothing, because what we're not going to do is spend $450 million, tax money, aprons, all of this, and be not good. It's largely the exact same conversation the Giants are having. If you want to know why Farhan is upset, you want to know why he's dangling the idea of selling, it's money. It's not that we're disappointed, we wanted to be good and we're not. It's not that. Teams can muscle through that. The building is attendance is up. So they're not furious about that. You even heard it in his quote when he's like, the team's got to tell us if we're buyers or sellers. In his quote, we spent over $200 million this year on payroll, and we're 47 and 50. That's why they're mad. They have the same record as the Reds, and the Reds are getting that record for a lot less.
Right.
I mean, a lot less. That's what makes owners mad. So that's why we're having this conversation, and that's why transactions that we didn't see coming are suddenly on the table, like letting Klay walk.
Right, and letting Klay walk after you offered him 2 and 48, and he said no, and then you wind up as a 10 seed, and you realize you spent $400 million to have one play-in game on the road, no gate at Chase Center, and you got run out of the building at Golden One. They lit the beam, and you got on the bus, and you came home, and you realized we spent $400 million, and we didn't even get a playoff series, so what are we going to do about it? And, Klay Thompson is the number one target because he was the only guy who was a free agent, so he bears the brunt, and that's the way that goes.